Hey everyone, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future coming to you with another college and career conversations. So, before I jump into the show, I just wanted to share with everybody, and some of you may know this is National Poetry Month. And one of the things I've been doing is kind of reading some more poetry and getting used to the flow of it. And I wanted to share with you a book that actually came today. Sometimes I get boxes in the mail and I'm like, oh God, what did I order now? It's like, oh my God, here's a book and let me order it from this place. And I just recently found this wonderful bookstore. Well, it's not a bookstore. It's online right now. And I know she's in the process of opening up a brick and mortar place in Texas. And it's called I Am Black Lit. And I'm just loving ordering from there. So this book came today. So this is by Jason Reynolds. And for those of you who don't know who Jason Reynolds is, he is an award-winning young adult author who just has some fantastic stuff out there. So this one is called For Everyone, and it says a poem, a nod, a nothing to lose. And on the back it says, this is for the courageous and everyone who wants to be. And if you indulge me a bit, I just like to read the note that he has in the beginning because I just think it speaks so much to this book. It's about 80, let me see, it's about 90 something pages, almost 100 pages. Nope, yeah, 101 pages. And it's a nice read. And it's one of those books that I think would make an absolutely wonderful gift for a young person starting off on something new, for a middle aged person starting off on something new, or for anyone that's ever had any doubts about what they're doing in their lives. So let me just read this note. It says a note. When I started writing this, I didn't know what it was. A poem in form only, a letter written in parts, an offering that I've now been working on for years. A thing. But when I think of it now and the process of it all, I realize that it was basically just the undoing of me, a 20 something clinging tight to the nugget of thin air I referred to as my dream. And as the meltdown happened, I realized that many of the people around me were melting as well. My friends who stayed up all night with me in Brooklyn, painting and playing music, writing, practicing, and pushing, were growing tired and annoyed, frustrated with the uncertainty. People in my family, the responsibles, whom I argued and disagreed with, never knew what I could see never knew that I could see that the remnants of this same kind of meltdown that may have happened to them 40 years prior were still there, hiding beneath their tongues. And for some reason, around this time, I also met quite a few teenagers who carried with them an unfortunate practicality. It was as if their imaginations had been seatbelted, kept safe from accidents. Sure, they still had adolescent gusto, but only in speech. When asked about their dreams and passions, though, many could only answer halfway. They could admit that the dreams were real and that there were things they wanted to do, say, see, and make, but they couldn't get past how foolish it is to be foolish. And I couldn't blame them, any of them. I had tried to do something different and it was killing me, and my friends, and my family. But the dream was still there, still painfully undeniable. So I started writing this, a letter to myself to keep from quitting. It was written while I was afraid, unsure, doubtful, and at first I wasn't sure what it was: a poem in form only, a letter written in parts, an offering that I've now been working on for years. For me, a mighty, mighty thing. And this again is for everyone. It's written by Jason Reynolds, and I'm sharing this in honor of National Poetry Month. So, in today's conversation, I was hoping a couple of my fellow travelers would join me, but I guess they're busy. Um, so, in today's conversation, I just want to talk about just briefly what it's like going on a college tour, 2.5 days, 5 colleges, and why we do this and what the purpose is. I won't go so much into the details of all that we learn because so much of this information is on each of the college's website. But it's really speaks to the importance of actually stepping on a campus and the things that you get to see. So go grab your favorite beverage, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. Hey, so we are back. So, as I said earlier, we are going to, I'm just going to briefly talk about this wonderful, wonderful tour that I had the opportunity to go on. So, here's the deal. Um, Quite frequently, college counselors, independent educational consultants, public school counselors, private school counselors, when we have the opportunity, one of the things that we like to do or that we feel is necessary to do is to visit colleges. Getting on a college campus and actually getting a feel for the community of the college and also having the opportunity to connect with someone on that campus, whether it's someone on the faculty, someone in administration, if it's students, it's really a pleasure to do this because then you get more of a feel of the vibe and the culture of the school. Not that you're going to get everything in one day or a few hours, but it really, really does make a difference. So one of the things I just want to do. So let me talk about the schools we visited. So this was part of the Beans tour. So the Beans tour is the Boston Extended Area Network of Schools. So there are 5 schools that have joined in together in order to um, bring people to their campus, to have different professional development opportunities, and to show off what they have. So those schools are, so we started, came into Boston on that Sunday evening and had a fantastic dinner at this great place on I think it was on Boylston, and it was called Abe and Louie's. And we ended up traveling on Monday. We started with Simmons first, and then went on to where did we go next? I'm sitting here looking at my notebook, and I just got so much stuff in. Oh, and then we went to Brandeis. So let me start with Simmons first. So Simmons is a women's-centered college located right in the heart of Boston, and it's part of the College of Fenway. Colleges of the Fenway. Is it College of Fenway or Colleges of Fenway? So this is a consortium of colleges where students can cross-register at each of the colleges. So the other colleges that are part of the College of Fenway are Emmanuel College, which is right next door to Simmons, the Massachusetts College of Art and Design, the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, cost Simmons, and then Wentworth Institute of Technology. So these are schools where students, if they attend any of those 5 schools, they can cross-register and take classes at each other's school. So that's something to think about. And the area, and when you think about Boston, Boston is such a college town. One of the things I didn't know, and that one of our hosts at Simmons let us know, is that there are about 300,000 college students in the Boston area. That's amazing. So when students think of, they say, well, I don't want to go to that school, it's too small, or it's this, or it's that. You have 300,000 other college students in the area. And then you also have Boston. I mean, Boston is absolutely incredible. We stayed at this wonderful hotel called the Lenox, which is on Exeter Street, which is right off Boylston. And then you go another block down and you're on Newbury. So we were near the Prudential Center, for those of you that are familiar with Boston and the Prudential Center. It's just such a walkable city, and there are stores and restaurants and sights to see. We were right next door to the Boston Public Library. I was excited. Those of you who know me know how much I love libraries. So actually on that Monday evening, my oldest son, who still lives in Providence, was able to take the train up and have dinner with me. And we went over to the Boston Public Library, and we must have spent an hour in there just taking pictures and looking around. I'll post some of them on my Facebook page, on my business Facebook page, and I'll get the rest of the photos up from the other schools. I've been getting them bit by bit because I've got to go back in and put in some captions. So Simmons, women-centered. Um, let's see, about 89% of the first year students were on campus. It is required that you live on campus for at least 1 year. So that's something to think about. Um, let's see what else. One of the things I learned about Simmons is that I just want to point out about Simmons is their nursing program. So we do always have students that are interested in nursing. And it's important to know what the nursing programs are like. So Simmons nursing program is actually what we call direct entry. That means that a student will enter into the nursing program as of their first year. So some are what we call direct entry, and some are what we call two-tier. So the difference is that if it's a two-tier system, that means that you're admitted into the college, and you'll take classes that beginning of you take classes your freshman year and your sophomore year. Sometime in your sophomore year, usually the second semester of your sophomore year, you have to take another test that the school provides, and you also have to have great grades in your, especially in your sciences and your STEM classes, and then it's decided whether or not you move on into nursing in your junior year. So that's two-tier. Simmons is actually direct entry. The other thing that's important to know with their nursing program, and this is for any nursing program anywhere, but Simmons pointed this out, and I think it's important that you also know this, their NCLEX rate. Now, people say, what's the NCLEX? So let me see if I can put this up here. Let me see if I can put this up here. So just in case you don't know what that word means. So let's see. Okay, here we go. So the NCLEX is the national licensing exam that nurses have to take. So you can go to 4 years of nursing school, 5 years of nursing school, whatever amount of time it takes you to get through nursing school. But if you don't pass this exam, then you're not licensed to be a nurse. So it's really important that you know what the pass rates are for different nursing programs. So Simmons pointed out that their pass rate is 94 to 96%. So that means the first time their students took the NCLEX, they passed. So that means the other percentage, they probably passed on the second go round. The national average is about 88%. So this is really good. It is a competitive program. Nursing is competitive. We do have a shortage of nurses across the United States, but we also have a shortage of nursing instructors, and that's sometimes why nursing programs are so competitive. Sometimes there's a shortage of nursing instructors. And then you also have to remember that if a student is going into a nursing program, the college needs to make sure that they're able to provide the student with the number of clinical hours and clinical experiences that they need. So that's why you don't see nursing programs admitting, 100 or 200 students into their incoming class, because they need to make sure that those students are going to get the clinical experiences that they need in order to be a successful nurse, and also, to pass the NCLEX and all that other stuff. So another neat thing about the nursing program at Simmons is that they have study abroad programs specifically for people in the nursing program. And the two places that they're able to attend or to go for study abroad are Ireland and Spain. And I thought that was pretty cool, that they're able to do that. Let's see what else I'm going to tell you really quickly about Simmons. They also have a series of what we call like 2+2. So that, well, not 2+2, 3+1, 4+1, 3+3 programs. So this is where you would start out in one program, and you end up getting 2 degrees. So let me pull up my little handy dandy sheet here, because my notes are a mess. I've got to go through my notes and redo them and look up a few things. Like when I take notes, I'll put an asterisk next to something and make sure that I go back and look that up and read more about it. So some of their programs, some of their 3+1 programs, so you can earn a bachelor's and a master's degree in as little as 4 years. And in such things as you can get a BA in economics, political science, or sociology, and then also a master in public policy. So that's one of their 3+1 programs. You can get a Bachelor of Science in computer science or information technology, and a Master of Science in library and information science in 4 years. So again, think about that. These are some of those opportunities that colleges have, and these are some in particular that you would find at Simmons. You can get a Bachelor of Social Work and a Master's of Social Work in 4 years. 4+1 program. So this is where you're going to get a bachelor's and a master's degree in as little as 5 years. Most master's programs might be 2 years. It all depends. So here's where you can cut a year off. So in addition to less time, you're spending less money and you're getting out into the workforce with the degrees that you need and the qualifications that you need. So one of the ones that you can get at Simmons, you can get a Bachelor of Science in Biology, Exercise Science, Nutrition, or Public Health, and then a Master of Science, Nutrition and Health Promotion. So think about that. You can also get your Bachelor of Science in Nursing and your Master's of Science in Nursing in 4+1 years, in 5 years. 3+3 program, you can get a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science and a doctorate in physical therapy. So you can do that in as little as 6 years. So that's something to consider. And then there's a dual Bachelor's of Science where you can get a BS in a STEM field and a BS in engineering. And that's actually a program that they have in collaboration with Columbia University. So that's just some of the highlights, some of the things that stood out for me for Simmons. Also, what else stood out for me? So they have about 1,750 students, undergraduate students. Um, just so much in their clubs and organizations. And people know that, if the club or organization that you want isn't at a school, that you can start your own. And that's at every college. But I really, really, really think it's important for students as they're visiting colleges to also look at what clubs and organizations are already on campus. That lets you know a little bit about the culture of this college. It gives you an opportunity to know what people may be considering a priority. So this is just a list of some of the clubs and organizations that are at Simmons. But again, you can go right on their website and you can see that. So just a couple. I'm only going to mention 2 or 3. They have one that's called the Biology Liaison, Mindscope, Multicultural International Students Organization, Neuroscience and Psychology, Trans and Non-Binary Collective. She's the First, Pre-Health. So rather than go into all of those, that's something that you could find at Simmons. So the next one, we're going to move now over to Brandeis. And we traveled to Brandeis right after we left Simmons. And Simmons gave us a wonderful breakfast, and Brandeis gave us a fantastic lunch. So Brandeis was founded in 1948 by the American Jewish community. It is open to everyone. Even though it has a Jewish founding, it's a college that is open to everyone of all nationalities, all religions, and what have you. And there are some things that they really value. So they value a reverence for learning, the cultivation of critical thinking, and a commitment to repairing the world. I thought that was really important. They are a Research One Institute. They're one of the schools that when you apply, you're not applying for a major. It's not required for admission. So, students get so wound up in, oh, I don't know what I'm going to major in. I'm 16, I'm 17, I'm 18. I should know what I want to do for the rest of my life. No, that's not necessary. And actually, Brandeis is one of those colleges, and many of them are, where you do not have to come in with a major, because you're applying to the school, you're not applying to a particular major. About 80% of their students do community service. Community service is really big at Brandeis, as it is at all of the schools. Like I said, I'm just highlighting some of the opportunities here for students. Again, this is a school, if you're interested in applying to Brandeis, you want to show some demonstrated interest. I mean, you don't have to go overboard and what have you, but they would like to know something about um, your thoughts about applying to their school before you actually do. Now, here's one of the things that came up in the conversation, because we're always talking about, well, if someone from a high school is applying to a college and the folks in admissions really haven't had a lot of dealings with that particular high school, how do they find out about the high school if they haven't visited the high school and um, there hasn't been communication? And this is where they talked about the high school profile. Now, this came out in another conversation that I was having, and it is just so important that high schools um, have sufficient information on their profiles in order to help admission officers make decisions that are favorable for your students. So, what's a high school profile? So, parents might be out there asking that. So, this is actually a document that the school counseling department puts together with different information that's specific to what's happening with seniors. So it will have on there. So if a school offers AP classes, usually it will give the list of AP classes that high school offers, and also if there are any parameters, like, are you only allowed to take 3 a year, or is there a cap on how many you can take total over 4 years? If you have an IB program, if you have honors and what have you, it talks about the average SAT and ACT score if the high school has that. It has information about your curriculum, graduation requirements, all kinds of information that colleges will use this document to help them make decisions about your students, especially if they're not familiar with their students. So one of the neat things that happens at these particular tours that are fascinating and that are so powerful for those of us that are getting to visit is when they have student panels. Um, in every school we had a student panel. So so that's something that typically is on these tours. One of the reasons I like doing the tours that are geared toward counselors and consultants is that it's specifically put together so that it's answering the types of questions that we're looking for and giving us the type of information that's going to help us help our students. Now, I've been on a couple of tours this past month or so, and some of them were tours where I just did part of the regular family, the parent and child tour. Those are different. Those are different. That's geared toward the incoming student. But when you go on a tour that's geared toward the counselor or the consultant that is working with students, you get information that helps you, like I said, that helps you help them. So one of the things we always ask students is, so why did you come to this particular school? So in the student panel from Brandeis, one of the young women said that she came because had a women's ultimate frisbee team and she really wanted to play ultimate frisbee and liked the idea that they had it. And she also said she liked the interaction that took place between students when she came for a campus visit. One of the words that kept coming out was the sense of community there. Um, Somebody else talked about they really liked the guest speakers that they had. They talked about their favorite classes. One person talked about her favorite class was called The Psychology of Love. So that was pretty interesting. Um, they also talked about the great outreach before they matriculated to the school. So they had been accepted to the school, but they talked about the outreach beforehand to help them in that transition. So again, so those are the kinds of things that you want to ask when you go on a tour. Okay, so once a student gets accepted, what happens beside an admitted student day? When you have the opportunity to talk to students, why did you come here? What other choices did you have? Let's see, I'm just trying to see. Somebody else said that they came because they felt so welcomed. That was a common thread throughout all of the panels. Let's see. Let's see what else I want to tell you about Brandeis. I have to get out the folders with the information because there was just so much information, and I just want to make sure I do this. Someone else talked about, ever since they stepped on the campus, how safe they felt. Some of the top majors in Brandeis: economics, biology, business, computer science, psychology, and health in the areas of science, society, and policy. Politics, international and global studies, mathematics, and neuroscience. So that is definitely something that you want to think about. They have quite a few students who double major, so it's possible to do that. So think about that as you're looking at your schools and thinking about where you might want to attend. Um, I think they had 60,000 plus hours of community service that is done by their students every year. So that's just hitting some of the highlights of Brandeis. I really encourage all of you to go on these colleges' website. Excuse me, voice is getting a little crazy, to go on these colleges' websites and find out more about them. So the third college we got to visit was Emerson. And for those of you that are familiar with Emerson, it is a school that most people think of Emerson as, the performing arts and those types of opportunities for students. Um, One of the things that was really neat, one of our attendees on the tour with us, her daughter is a second year student at Emerson, so she got to see her daughter on campus. So that was really kind of cool. That was really kind of cool. So some of the things about Emerson. So Emerson to me is the kind of college that students really need to be comfortable with being in the city because it's in the heart of downtown Boston. It's right in Boston. It's not. It's definitely an urban college. So it's more, I think it's like two buildings, three buildings. So they're more a vertical college rather than a horizontal college where they're spread out and have multiple buildings. So they have, one of their new residence halls is like 18 stories. So again, that's what you're getting when you come to Emerson. Every one of the tour guides we had, oh my God, they were so entertaining. They were fantastic. They were so comfortable in their skins. It was just amazing. So they bring in about 1,000 incoming students every year um, to Emerson. They have 5 residence halls. Now, here is one of the things that's interesting, and it's important to know why they're doing this. So they do require students to live on campus, to live in the residence halls or campus housing for 3 years. And that's, like, wow, 3 years. And the reason they do that, so when you think of the type of work that they're involved in, different communications, performing arts, visual arts, that kind of work is so dependent upon networking and collaborating and partnering with other people from other disciplines. Just because you're a director, you still have to talk to the producer, you have to talk to the writer, you have to talk to the actors. You really have to be able to work with people in all different areas that are going to help you get your product where it needs to be. So, one of the things they do is they require students to live on campus for 3 years. And they do this because they want them to get used to having those collaborative relationships while they're still in college. So, that's why they do require them to be there for 3 years. Um, let's see, what else would I like to tell you about? Oh, so they actually have, let me see if I can find it. Is that Emerson? They actually have some new programs coming up that I think are going to be pretty cool. So let's see if I can find that in my notes. So one is called media psychology, and the other is health and social change. So again, these are new things that are coming up based on what they've been seeing. Thinking about how do we? I mean, we're all consumed with media. what is that doing to us? What does that look like? So that's something to think about. And health and social change. I mean, we're still going through this pandemic. I mean, it's not as it was when it first started, and we know so much more about it. But they're really starting to look at what does that mean for people? What does that mean for us as the world continues to change? There are so many. Let me see, what else do I want to tell you about Emerson? Um, oh, this was funny. So their alumni are called the Emerson Mafia, and they actually have a Facebook group. So it's really important that students that go to Emerson are in contact with alumni, because that's sometimes how they get work and jobs and find out about different opportunities. So this is another thing you want to find out about when you're visiting colleges. What is the alumni base like? Is this a base that you can count on, that you can reach out to without it without it being a problem? So another thing, they did say that applying early, applying ED does help. Um, better not I wouldn't go so far as to say better chances, but yeah, if you're applying to Emerson and you know that's where you want to go and finances isn't an issue, then you might want to apply ED to do that. It is fairly expensive. I think the total cost for 10 is about $70,000, so that is something to think about. Let's see. Actually, they said about 30% of their students may graduate in about 3.5 years, um, because they're out there and they're taking courses and getting work and what have you. So sometimes they're doubling up. You can also design your own major. So think about that. You don't have to really declare a major until second semester of your sophomore year. You can double major. They have some really strong disability services. As a matter of fact, one of our tour guides was majoring in communication disorders, but her bent on it was that her goal is to work in entertainment, theater, and what have you, in making those type of venues more accessible for people. So that was a really cool major to do. Um, and again, she was working on that with her advisors and putting that together. Oh, let's see what else. Oh, they talked about this castle they have in the Netherlands that people can go over and do some coursework over there. And they kept saying how it's double moated. Usually, when you get to do that, that's in your sophomore year. Let's see. Let's see what else. What else? What else? Oh, there's just so much. So they have a brand new course coming up next year on solopreneurship. Now, this is so important because so many people are going into businesses and stuff, and they're solo. They're not going into business with multiple partners or into big firms. They're starting their own business. So they're actually starting a course that is helping students learn about solopreneurship. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I need to write up my notes. Let's see some of our student panels. Um, Someone was going into arts management with the hope of doing it professionally. Someone else has been working part-time with the music magazine. So she said in addition to that, she's learning publishing skills. They talked about the different projects they have to do. They said the school is very gender inclusive and gender neutral, and you saw that throughout the school. So next school, Holy Cross. This is the college that Dr. Fauci graduated from. So, yes, Holy Cross. So, one of the things that they pointed out to us, it's because they're undergraduate only. And that's sometimes I think it's important for people to understand why it may be a good thing to go to a college that just has undergraduate students. And that's because the faculty is focused on teaching. Undergraduates are not competing with graduate students for those internships, for those research projects, and what have you. So think about that. Keep that in mind. Um, you do have to take one class in religious studies, but when you look at the range of classes that you can take, that doesn't seem like it would be a barrier for anyone. They have a new performing arts coming up. They just opened up a new wellness center. Um, they also have what they call the Washington D.C. semester, and they also have a New York City semester, where as the name say, that you can spend time in New York City and Washington D.C. Let's see. You cannot declare a major your first year. Again, another one where you cannot do that because you need, they want people to come in, learn how to be a college student, learn what's available for them. Um, in our student panel, one of the students said that one of the reasons that Holy Cross was such a good fit for them is because it had strong financial aid. She said they met her demonstrated need, and that really mattered to her to be able to come to a college where she wouldn't graduate with like a ridiculous amount of debt, and that Holy Cross was able to do that. Other students said that the values and the Jesuit mission really resonated with them. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Jesuit schools, I mean, the missions are all about giving back to society and what have you. And several of the students that were on the panel did mention the strong financial aid. So that's something to think about. They also talked about how the alumni network is a part of their community. So again, that alumni network keeps coming up. So that's something you want to think about. Um, Let's see. One of the students actually was majoring in classics, and and she talked about the Classics Honor Society. And actually, I think that's what Dr. Fauci majored in, the classics. They're close to Boston, so they're right on the train line. Let's see. They've been test optional. So I haven't really talked about testing, but they've been test optional for 15 years. So they get how to read a student's application without, so they didn't go into that tizzy when COVID happened and students couldn't get to testing. So that's something to think of. They will consider additional materials that students may send in. Let's see. Oh God, let's see. What else do I want to tell you? Demonstrated engagement is welcomed at Holy Cross. They also do interviews. So if you can't come in person, they will do a Zoom interview. And I like the comment that one of our hosts said is that the interview was like going from black and white to color. Kind of like you think about the Wizard of Oz, when there's parts of the Wizard of Oz that were black and white, and then there were parts that were in color. So they talked about that. So this is why when a college gives you the opportunity to have an interview, you really need to take the interview, because this is where you can show them who you are as a person. So think about that. Um, Let's see what else. I'm just looking because I've got so many notes all over the place here. It's a mess. This is the Holy Cross folder. So some of the other information. Let's see. Let's see. A large number of students participating in summer research. Their 4-year graduation rate is 87%, which is great. They have a 76% medical school acceptance rate, a 91% law school acceptance rate. So some really good things. Again, I encourage you to go onto the websites and see, more information about these schools. And the last one we visited was Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Now, I hadn't been in the city of Worcester in, oh my God, like forever. It is one of these cities that is being revitalized quite a bit. The other thing I didn't know about Worcester is that I think it's the second largest city in New England. I did not know that. I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So WPI. So one of the things they do that's really interesting that you should know is that their courses are 7 weeks. So every 7 weeks you take 3 classes, and that's what you concentrate on. And then you have a short break, and then you take 3 more classes for 7 weeks. So they have the A term, B term, C term, and D term. So for students who like to delve deeply into subjects at a faster pace, this might be the place for you. So you have to think about that. Can you handle that fast pace? And the other thing that I loved about we found out is that well, if you're familiar with WPI, you already know this. Um, they only have A, B, and C for grades. There's no A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, none of that. It's A, B, or C because they don't want students getting hung up on trying to be competitive, and they want to be non-punitive. They want students to learn. And students can take up to 3 classes for what they call an NR. So that means there's no record of the grade. So they want students to take risks on classes that they may have been a little nervous about taking, and to do so without feeling like there's going to be a serious drop in your GPA. So they can take 3 courses and still graduate on time. um, Everything at WPI is project based. This is not a school that you go to if you want to be a lone wolf, if you want to be off in the corner doing your own experiments and what have you. So when the question was asked, what type of students would you see coming to WPI? Some of the adjectives that were used were curious, creative, innovative, a tinkerer, a collaborative, and respect for diverse perspectives in problem solving, and very community oriented. Um, so all hands on. It was like amazing seeing them in seeing the students doing their work, because as we were taking the tour and going around, you saw students working on projects, and that was really cool. We had the opportunity to talk to or to have presentations by 2 of their professors. And one of the professors was, let me see if I can find her name here, Dr. Jillian Smith. So she was the director of the Interactive Media and Game Development Department. And it was just fascinating what they're able to do. So if that's something you're interested in, go look it up. This was my favorite. One of the professors, who was a professor, and I forgot to write his name down. It's on my photo, and I'd have to go back and look it up. But he's in the electrical and computer engineering department. And 3 of his students came in to present their project to us. And I'll just talk really quick about those projects afterwards. He was so pumped up, and he was so excited and so enthusiastic about what his students had created, that it was contagious. It was absolutely amazing. So they actually had this project. It was called the 5G User Equipment Selective Jammer. They explained it. I'm not a computer engineer. I'm not a STEM focused person. It sounded good, and I think they actually may be working on a patent. So these students were all all 3 of them had definite plans. They were all seniors. So one was going on to get his PhD in electrical and computer engineering. Another one was going to work at Portsmouth Naval, and another one was going to work at SpaceX. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. So one of the things I do want to very quickly, I talked about them being project based. So that's the heart of their curriculum. So 2 of the immersive projects that they do, one is called the IQP, the Interactive Qualifying Project, where they delve into, there's an interdisciplinary project that they work on, and they're looking to make an impact in the world at the intersection of technology and human need. And then their major qualifying project, known as the MQP, where they have to perform real world research that proves to employers that you know how to get things done. And that's the one that we saw with the professor was just so, I mean, he was vibrating with how enthusiastic he was about his students. And when you get to see that, that's something you don't normally see, because a lot of times when I'm on a regular tour, I don't get to see professors or student panels. But in this particular case, we did. And that, I don't know, it was just so cool to see how happy and how engaged this professor was with what his students were doing. And that's one of the really neat things about being able to actually visit a campus. Okay, so one more thing I always want to tell students to be aware of. So when you're visiting a campus, one of the things that you want to try to pick up when you're on the campus is their student newspaper. There's so much information that you could find out. They're all online, but it's nice when you're on the campus to pick up a copy. So this is actually the Emerson College's student newspaper. It's called the Berkeley Beacon, and it's nice to see what students are writing about. The other thing, and it was funny because some people were looking at some of us that were taking pictures and wondering, why are they taking pictures of this stuff? I like to take pictures of bulletin boards that are announcing coming events or different tours or different study abroad opportunities or different clubs and organizations, because this is how students know what is happening on this campus outside of me just going to class. So if you go on my business Facebook page and look where I've posted some of the colleges, you'll see that there are some pictures of flyers and what have you. Because you like to know like what is happening around these colleges and what else are they offering students. And it's always great to see those types of things. So that's beans in a nutshell. Kind of sad that some of my fellow attendees did not join in with me, because it's always nice to hear how other people saw the tour and what stood out to them. And as I said, there's just so much information. I really couldn't go through each school with all the notes. So I really encourage you to go on their websites. Um, every school has really upped their virtual game, because even though we're going back on campuses now, people have realized how important keeping that virtual piece is, how many people that you can reach out to. And, by increasing the quality of their virtual um, productions, it's really giving people an opportunity to learn more about their particular schools. So that's it for the Beans Tour, which is the Boston Extended Area Network of Schools. And thank you so much to the Beans folks for allowing us to come to your campuses, for hosting us, for setting up everything. I mean, each one was it was amazing, and I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do it, because now I have a better idea about those schools and I'm talking to my students. So next week, I get the pleasure of talking with Joel Montero, who majored in business, graduated from the University of Rhode Island. This is someone that I've known for quite a while. So I am really thrilled that next week he will be my guest. And I'm just thrilled. Um, Again, if you would like some more information, please sign up for the Steps newsletter. This is the URL. We send this out monthly. I'm a little behind for April, so I got to get that out. We send this out monthly with some news for you. It also might have some scholarship information and what have you. And if you'd like to go back and look at any of the past college and career conversations where I actually have a guest, you can go to my YouTube channel. And I'd love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am trying to get my numbers up so I can do some other things. So please, please, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you have a question, you need to reach out to me. This is my email, drb@stepstothefuture.com. And I would definitely love to hear from you and see how things are going. So again, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future. Thank you so much for listening to my rambling about the Beans Tour. It's really hard to talk about 5 colleges in a short period of time and figure out what should I be talking about. So again, thank you, and I will see you next Monday. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening.